learn from some of my life experiences, and don't make some of the mistakes I made, but pick up on some of the things that worked. So just to recap, and I'd love for you guys to communicate back to me. Hi, Dr. Fabian. I see we've got people from all over the place. We've got people from Texas and different states joining us today. So hello, hello, hello. Let's make this kind of fun. How many of you just hit the chat or speak? It doesn't matter. But how many of you were with us a month ago? All right, so quite a few of you, and I think we covered 3 or 4 chapters last time. We introduced the whole concept. We introduced the reading materials, marketing materials, the online process. How many of you are currently taking the online portion of this? You get some extra stuff there. You get some quiz questions. You get a new score every day. Makes it a little more interesting. You can see how you're doing against other people that are also doing it online. Great. And personally, when we stepped through this the first time, I think one of the most valuable parts of it was recognizing that for you to be successful for decades after decades after decades, like we're able to in real estate, we make the same kind of money that professional athletes make, but we're able to do it for a long, long time. You can make 7-figure incomes well into your 80s selling real estate. But to do that, you do have to stay healthy. So one of the foundations of this is not just talking about the business side of it. It's not just making your business goals and strategies, but it's taking a step back and saying, hey, if I'm going to stay healthy mentally, physically, spiritually, I've got to have to stay healthy, keep all the, got to keep my body functioning and my mind alert and all these things that we kind of open the study up to the 7 healths that are listed in the beginning of this. And I think one of the most important is the spiritual side of it. And so I think one of the most rewarding parts of taking the first class through was reading a chapter in the most published soft paperback book in the history of the world, The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. And doing one chapter of that just coincidentally happens to be 40 chapters in that. As well as 40 chapters in 40 Days of Farming. So it just mirrors perfectly. And I think it's so substantive and so meaningful to start with that every morning, reading your chapter in Purpose-Driven Life. There's also, and please let me know if you don't have this, but the marketing department made a QR code so that you can listen to a complementing video from Rick Warren on each of the chapters in Purpose-Driven Life. And it's a great segue into the actual book of 40 Days of Farming each morning. So just raise your hand or chat with me and let me know, are you guys doing that? Is that the foundation that you have set out on? Because I think it's so important to look at all 7 of these healths with the recommended reading, but stay up with the 40 Days of Farming every day, both the video and the chapter. And I was kind of looking at this, and I just love this book. I've read it multiple times, and every time I read it, something strikes out at me. I mean, it's like food. You can just keep reading this book over and over again. But I was kind of just reflecting back on day 7 and the reason for everything. And I think we get so busy with our lives, we get so busy with our family and sporting events and travel and our occupation and being with clients and working through the weekends and all this stuff that we need to slow down and just reflect upon. And this will tie into one of the chapters we're going to work on for your business today, but the reason for everything. And day 7 starts off, everything comes from God alone. Everything lives by his power and everything is for his glory. That's Romans 11:36. The Lord has made everything for his own purposes. Proverbs 16:4. So, the message again from this book is it's all for him and we're for his pleasure. And we need to, until we really get that through our thick skulls, nothing in life makes sense. And so that's the core message of that book. And I love how chapter 7 starts off. But just wanted to kind of recap with you. How many of you guys got the whole SMART goal concept, right? That, when we went through this last month, kind of tying back to my story of every year, my goals are being so important, right? Because when you set goals, I mean, most of the time you make your goals. I mean, at least I do, and I see a lot of people around me. You set these goals and you try to make them fairly realistic, but they're magic. I mean, they, when you set your sails and you're shipped towards a certain point, it's logical that you get there. And so setting goals every year has always been really important to me. I think it's important for all of us. This is that time of year to do it. And I was just saying to you guys, hey, 10% larger biceps and 10% more travel and 15% more in your retirement account and 20% more GCI and all these things, they're all important, right? I wouldn't say not to address those under goals, but it can't be number one. So the whole SMART goal concept is, what are the 5 reasons I'm here on earth for? Why did God time my birth right now? Why am I living right now? Why is he putting air in my lungs right now? And so we just said, okay, there's 5 reasons I'm alive. There's 5 reasons I'm breathing. One is worship, one is discipleship, one is fellowship, one is ministry, and one is mission. So remember that. Next time I see you, I'm going to ask you, what are the 5 reasons you're alive? And doesn't it make sense if we start with those, right, as we're making our goals and planning the time that we're going to spend this year working in our communities, building relationships, growing close with people, loving them, in turn they love us, and really see that we're sincere about helping them, whether we're making an immediate commission or not. I mean, these are things you can't fake. So they have to be real. And for them to be real, you have to be earnestly pursuing them in the right way. So how many of you are with me on that? Did you guys incorporate any of that into your 2023 goals? And I'd love to open this up a little bit and just hear how and what you plan on doing, and how are you allocating your time towards those, and how it all fits in. So I'm really anxious to get your feedback. Day 4, when I put day 4 into the book, I remember some of our executives kind of looked at me sideways. They're like, what? And, this is something that I think is very serious. In other words, if you ever go to church and every once in a while they give you a little cup of grape juice and a piece of bread, and you take you remember that what those symbolize: Jesus's blood and his body and his sacrifice for us, and that's a very serious thing. The Bible says, hey, don't do this unless you really are earnest about it. You've cleansed yourself, you've prayed about it. It's not something you do lightly. And I think consecrating your business, same thing. Look, if you're not going to hold this up as God's, if you're not going to trust him to be the CEO of your corporation, and pray to him and not make big decisions without him, then don't do it, because I think you're better off not to do it. But I think if your faith is there and your willingness to really share your business with God and bring him into it and consecrate it, then I think it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing. And, in the book, I compare it to what George Washington did for our country when he first took over. And we even give you kind of an example of what you might say if you decide to consecrate your business. But really give it some thought and give it some study, and don't do it haphazardly. Be sure and take it very seriously, which means a lot of things as you progress with your business. So anyway, that's day 4. And chapter 5 is I selfishly put in the book, hey, join the right agency, and selfish or unselfish, I think it's important. I think a lot of you guys know why you're with us. You like the energy, you like the brand, you like the people, you like the leadership. It's usually about leadership. But to me, I think it's, there's a lot more to this platform that we're building and evolving. Revenue Share is one of them. We hope to be a publicly trading company very soon. And I really hope you guys that are in early with us and start getting stock and buying stock. There's 4 different ways you can get stock in our company that, just in a few years down the road, make some serious equity with us. I see it as a great opportunity. There's been a few others that had the same engines in their platform, and some of the early on members of those companies made millions. And I hope the same for each of you. You're here because of our marketing. I think we have a great marketing department, all the way down from Zhao and who built our style guide, to Katie, who's our graphic designer, staying very true to all that. And then my affinity towards just marketing. It's really been my focus all my life. So stock, revenue share, and then I think many of you know that we intend on capping all of our agents, hopefully this year, about the time we go public, which means that nobody would pay more than $16,000 a year into the company as soon as we're able to cap, and that just takes capital. And so we're in the middle of raising capital right now. We're closing in on about $12 million so that we can execute on all the things that we are pushing for from our original vision, which is very exciting. I see that concluding probably within the next 30 days. And and then on and on and on, our magazine, building your own publication, et cetera, et cetera. So I just think that Agent Inc. has a lot to offer each of you. And I believe in never quit selling what you're selling. So I take the opportunity to just kind of run you back through it, because I know a lot of you aren't always there for our sales meetings, and don't always show up for John's Corner, and you're not completely up to date on all this really amazing stuff we're doing. I think we're building a platform that will be the best in the world, and I think it'll be the most valuable real estate company in the world because of the enterprise. So no competitors have ever really said, okay, we're going to build a nationwide title company, nationwide mortgage company, and all these things, and give each agent ownership in that whole enterprise. So when you see the stock market valuations for some of the competitors, I think they're less impressive than what we can be, because most of that value is built on just a real estate brokerage company. So we're super excited about what we're doing, and your success, and you finding success in what we're doing. Day 6, I'm going to, some of these are a little more straightforward. When I first got in the business, I went to a place called Figgy, which is well known for photos and kind of expensive. And I spent good money on a great headshot, and it was me kind of like standing here with my arms folded, and I used that in millions and millions of impressions. And the familiarity of that headshot, which included a lot of my torso, it just did wonders for my career. People recognized me, knew me, they knew that, and they kind of, I guess the expression, the attitude on that headshot said a lot. And I would say that headshot was incredibly important, incredibly valuable. So we did a whole day on making sure you've got the right headshot. And how many of you guys are happy with what you have? I see you join me in the chat. Can you raise your hand? Are you guys happy with what you have in the way of a headshot? How many of you think you can do better? All right, very happy. Yes. Okay, excellent. It's so important. And so I just want you to take day 6 very be serious about it. If you think you're lacking there, stay after it. As you guys know, when we have sales meetings at a listing, we usually have Amy Nicky there that can she's one of the best headshot photographers I've come across. So be sure to take advantage of that. It doesn't hurt to have more than one. Although I would say the familiarity I got from just using that one headshot for so long, there's value in that. So I think, even though you like to have freshen it up every once in a while, which is not bad, just keep in mind that building familiarity in your brand is very important. So anyway, won't spend too much time on day 6, but day 7 is obviously something that once you've selected your farm and you're there doing the open houses every weekend, buying that data today is very inexpensive. I mean, you can buy pretty much everyone's emails and their cell phone numbers, and you build out your workbook for your farm. And when I would do open houses, I had a better memory back then. It's amazing. Time destroys your brain. But if I'd met somebody before, I remember their name. I could say, "Hey, Bob McDonald's, great to see you back." And they were always kind of be shocked by that. But I'd say, "Hey, I remembered you. You had a nice dog," or your daughter was so cute that I met. And just being able to start building those relationships when you see people in your farm. But I would cheat. I got a lot of data. I had a whole notebook full of a picture of their house, picture of, I had a description of the family, their ages, where they went to school, all that stuff. So that, if I saw somebody come at the front door and I go, "Oh, I've met that person, I don't remember them," I might have time to flip through there and just refresh my notes, and or even when they're walking around the house, I could reflect on what I talked to them about last time. And it just goes, when people realize that you remember them and know them, I mean, it just means so much to them. And so I think selecting your farm, buying your data for your farm for day 7 is obviously really, really important. So anyway, I wanted to get, day 8 is your digital suite. And I think you guys are pretty familiar with all that, because we do our Tech Tuesdays most every Tuesday. And most of you have selected the digital suite that you want, and that you can upgrade that all the way to platinum if you so desire, and just have more tools at your fingertips. But I wanted to get to day 9 today, and it kind of, like I said, it tied into just the intro to the chapter I read from Purpose Driven Life. But define your value proposition. And I was talking to a guy that owns a recruiting company that all they do is recruit residential real estate agents. And by the way, we're hiring them to help our designated brokers and empire builders. But he said, the first thing we do is this. He said, "Tell me in 5 seconds your value proposition." And he said, "You'll be amazed how many agents can't do that." And he said, "You got to start there. Like you've got to start there." And so day 9 is about that. I mean, I think there's some pretty good tips on that. Day 10 is determine your differentiators, which some people say, well, aren't they the same? And I would say no. Your value proposition, I think, really comes from your heart. It's where when you start defining your value proposition, you start tapping into your goals and your desires and your passions, and all that's coming from your heart. And then when you get into day 10, which is determining your differentiators, that's more about your chemical makeup, right? It's about I'm 6'1", and I'm tall, dark, and handsome, and God gave me a good voice, and I've got piercing eyes, and I build trust very quickly. So those are some of my strengths and weaknesses. Those are my differentiators. I need to understand those to fully optimize them. And then define your value proposition is really, it gets back to your heart. And I was reading something just the other day, and I just think this is a good illustration. But if you're familiar with the New Testament, Paul, who wrote, the Apostle Paul, who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, I mean, he was short, he was frail, he was bald. They said his eyes were very close to his nose. It was very, this is not a handsome fellow. And then they said, boy, the guy can write. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. They said when he opened his mouth, his voice almost made you want to run. I mean, his voice was so annoying that you didn't want to listen to him speak. And this story was about some of his interaction with Peter, who was, this big, strong fisherman. I mean, just when he walked into a room, he had tremendous presence, and he could deliver his message because of his, chemistry, right? And so that's what we're talking about. But Paul was able to use his chemistry, and Peter was also able to use his chemistry in very different ways, and we were both successful with them. And so this is kind of just us drilling down on all of that, understanding what it is that we have to use and how best to use them. So I think you'll really enjoy spending time on day 9 and day 10. And that's really all I wanted to go over today, because I want to have more to go over with you next month. But let me just open it up. I'd love to just open it up for discussions and for questions, and see how you guys are doing out there. I know the market's, it's changed a lot, which I think is great. You say, how can that be great? I said, well, look, when when things are flying off the shelf at 2% interest and there's no inventory, quite frankly, your expertise is not needed. Every sale was an auction. Aunt Sally could put a sign in the front yard and have zero marketing and zero expertise. It didn't matter. I mean, you get 17 offers the next day, and it just really didn't make that much difference who was the listing agent. And buyer's agents were, just floundering around, just begging someone to take their full price, all cash offer. So, I mean, it was, we've gone through a couple of years of it, just very unusual market. And quite frankly, not one that I was trained in to succeed at. But I look at the market today, and I look at you, and I think this is your opportunity. You guys can have your best year ever in 2023 because the market has slowed 50% in pendings. There are many data points of expertise that you can educate yourself on, share in the living room. People now need you. They need this information. They need to know what's going on in the trenches. With real estate, data comes out about 90 days late. So people really figure out from the press what happened 90 days ago. But you're in the trenches. And if they see you in their neighborhood constantly doing open houses, working hard to get to know them, improve the community, they're going to call on you, and you're going to get the listings, and you're going to get the business. And I read something this morning that 27% of agents have left the business just because it got hard. So, hey, there's more, even though pendings are down 50%, 27% of agents have left the scene. So, I just see it as this is a great time for you to be focused on 40 days of farming. It's a great time for you to be focused on your building out your networks, geo-farming, getting familiar, sticking with the same neighborhood. One of the worst things you can do is move around. Don't pick a farm and say, oh, some title rep told me that the turnover ratio here is weak and I should be somewhere. Don't fall in that, because in time, they all turn over. And the average just move around. So stay with it, get to know the people, get to know the community, and pick a community that you're passionate about. I mean, I picked a community I wanted to live in, and I ended up using my commissions to build my house. And it all worked out great, and knew all the neighbors, loved all the neighbors, and became my home. And so I think, passion is such an important part of success. I never tried to sell things I wasn't passionate about. And, there's certain neighborhoods around where I work that I just never sold anything in because I didn't care that much for it. And I think that's important to recognize when you're choosing your farms and and really drilling down into those communities and looking for ways to be of service and to be of added value and to become known and liked. So anyway, can I open it up for questions? Are you guys able to speak? I guess it depends on where you're logged in from. Well, let's go to the chat then. Does anybody have a question?
John?
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Bella?
Good.
Right?
So
No.
we're doing the 40 Days of Farming out here in Rancho Cucamonga. We're actually on chapter 3.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry, I got ahead of you.
what do you say?
He got ahead of you because he went into other chapters.
Oh, yeah. No, I just wanted to say that I love the idea of what you said in regards to getting educated, getting skilled right now, taking this time to really see what's going out there, to be educated and skilled in this market right now. And so I think that we're extremely blessed to be able to do this 40 Days of Farming right now. It's a perfect time for us to do this. So we've been really proactive on it, and we love it so far. So we're only on 3, we're moving into 4, but it's great.
I'm so glad to hear that, Carrie. Thank you for sharing. That's very affirming, very encouraging. And you guys keep at it, okay? There's a lot of value in those books.
Yes.
And are you using the workbook?
Yes, we're using the workbook, the purpose, was it driven purpose, and the 40 Days of Farming.
Excellent.
And we're also doing the digital copy as well. So we have the digital that we're following along. We're doing all of the assessments and the work that's in there.
So you're doing 1 chapter per week, is that?
Yes, yeah, that's what we're doing out here in Rancho.
That's good. That's good.
So,
Well, I can't wait
I'm
to-
working on training the Fontana office that just opened up. So I met with them last week to try to get them up to speed too.
I'm so glad to hear it, Carrie. You're quite the leader. We love your enthusiasm, your leadership, and your support of Agent Inc. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anybody else? There's got to be some questions.
There is a question in the chat.
All right, let's go there. So this is from Bella. What's the easiest way to follow up with leads? I feel like I meet a lot of people, but I'm not that proactive when it comes to following up. So great question. And, you know, when you get to my chapter on how to do a successful open house, Bella, you know, agents ask me all the time, how can I have a great year? And I go, well, are you doing open houses? No. Well, and I would say to them, look, everybody's different. I mean, you know, I think Mike Taylor sold quite a bit of real estate without doing a lot of open houses. But for me, my conviction was all through my career, if I'm not doing an open house on the weekend, at least one, and if I don't have an ad somewhere, then that's the cost of doing business. So I'm not going to succeed. So open houses were very important to me. But, you know, if you just sit there and you're nice to everyone and you don't have the ability to turn over that vital information, which is a phone number or an email address, or even where they live, then I'd pretty much say you're wasting your time. And I've watched agents do this. I had somebody that was working on my team, and he would do 2 open houses every weekend. He never sold anything. And I said, "What in the world are you doing?" And you know, he was being nice. He was being cordial. He was being very professional. And had his information there. He had his brochures. I mean, he was on time. He was dressed. And I'm like, but there's an art. There's an art to connecting with someone in a way that they respond to you and will just give you key information. And, you know, so most of the time people come in and they don't want to let down their guard to you. They don't know you. They don't really want to get to know you. They just want to see the house. They don't really want to talk to you. And so, there's this balance of giving them a little freedom, being respectful, but targeting something there that makes them curious. And so there's all different kinds of tricks, but one of the things that I would always try to do is pitch them something. So whenever I did an open house, I would always have in my mind that day the best deal in the community. And so, if someone new walks in and, be polite and cordial and they get comfortable in the house with me, they know I'm not pressuring or following them around, gabbing. I try not to talk too much, but I would pitch them a deal. I'd say, man, did you see, 123 Yella came on, and I just think it's a great price. And it's vacant right now. I could take you down there and show it to you. And they would. So all of a sudden they're like, and that's when some truth starts coming out. So, they would say, oh, yeah, we saw that. It doesn't have enough bedrooms. It's too much of a fixer, or actually, that's not in our price range. We need to be. So then I get a little truth. I go, oh, okay. And then it's like, got it. So you're having another baby. Oh, that's great. And you just start to get this conversation. And then I can leap from there and say, well, you know what? I just did a listing presentation 2 days ago. And I think what I have coming is like perfect for you guys. Oh, really? Okay. Well, do you want me to call you as soon? Yeah. Okay, great. Here's my number. All right. Well, listen, I'll probably call you on Wednesday. Boom. What did I just do? Right? I turned a stranger who didn't even want to talk to me into somebody who's now waiting for my call, and I've got her number. And so if you're not doing that during your open houses, you might as well just stay home and watch football or, whatever you like to do. So, this book gets into that. I have a little section in there about the control area of when they leave and just making sure that they've signed in, you've got their information, but you can't just demand it. You kind of have to artfully get to it. And I think that's, out of, it's easier to, just be nice to everyone. And that's not going to get you much fruit. But does that make sense to you guys? Have you guys experienced any of that as you're doing your open houses?
Hey, John, I'll answer your question. So like, for example, I been having trouble getting open houses, and it actually had been quite a couple months. And so I had one last Thursday, and I went out the day before and kind of passed out a lot of flyers, knocked on some doors just to kind of invite the nearby neighbors. And I had a really good turnout for a Thursday night. I had about 10 visitors, and I had a couple people sign my sign-in sheet. And that's always the tough part, is when you do go to follow up, not all the time people will engage with you or answer the phone or return your message or your text. But for me, definitely, like, it validated the need to do open houses and engage with people, because, if you meet 10 people, you get 1 or 2 leads out of it, it's worth it, especially if you can do it, week by week and month by month.
Hey man, if you get 1 good lead a week, that's 52 a year. And you start, and if those turn into listings and you represent the buyer on half of them, that's a great year for any agent, right? So it's like you said, Angelo, I mean, it's just being consistent out there, right? The numbers start stacking up if you're following up with the leads. And it's okay. I mean, I remember, of course, I always started early and ended late, but if only 1 or 2 people came in, I mean, I'd blame myself for not marketing the open house as well as I should have. But still, I mean, if it just takes one, right? It's just, if you can pull 1 good lead out of every open house, I mean, that's enough. That's enough for you to build a nice career off of. So it's the consistency of it all. But I'm glad you're doing it, bud. Stay, and you know, if you can do that in the same neighborhood that you're farming, goes so much further, because that familiarity of them seeing you out there, and you're a handsome devil, and you're all dressed up with your tie on. I love it. You're like me. When I was doing, I called it my suit of armor. I felt that I showed respect to people coming in by dressing as a professional. And I know styles have really changed. I mean, look at me today, but you know, I admire that you put your suit of armor on, you get out there with your suit and tie on. I admire that.
No,
You know,
appreciate it.
John, what you were describing on your open house strategy, we talked about.
Oh, hello.
Hey, we talked so much this morning about that on our Monday morning mastermind of, you know, until we put something of value in front of somebody, they're not inclined to take an interest in us, give us information, schedule an appointment. But when you said to the client, hey, I went in this listing presentation and I think I'm going to get this listing in a few days. And now all of a sudden it's, yes, tell me about it. I want to know about it before the whole world knows about it. And, you know, and that's just the simplicity of, it's not about us, it's about them. And when you offered one specific opportunity, that buyer couldn't rule it out. They couldn't do anything to dismiss it. So the natural response is to lean in and say, yes, I want to know more about it. When can I see it? Call me. And I love that. I mean, everybody's frustrated in open houses because they're wondering why people don't want to schedule appointments with them. And it's because they don't care about us. They're looking to buy one house. So I love that picture of just putting out an opportunity. Of course, if it's off market, nobody can rule it out. It's off market. And
Yeah, and Scott, you're absolutely right. And nobody does it better than you. You started your career this way, and you launched into major success very, very quickly from your ability to artfully do that at open houses. And but I think just going back to what Angelo said about, you know, kind of seeing the value of doing open houses. Guess what happens 6 months from now, Angelo, when you're, you know, when the neighbors start seeing you in the same neighborhood doing those open houses, and they see your sign, they recognize your name, they've gotten a couple of your flyers in the mailbox. You know what happens? Starts to happen. Joe drops by and he says, hey, Angelo, I see you're out here, you're working every weekend. You know what's going on. You know what houses are on the market. You know what houses are coming on the market. You know, you're tracking, why didn't things sell? What, you know, what did he, and he'll say to you, you know, I got transferred, I'm getting transferred. We're going to need to sell our house. And I need to work with somebody like you, somebody that, you know, can tell me where to price my house so that, you know, it moves within a timely manner, because you know what else is coming on and what it's going to compete with. And that's how your business really starts to build, is you've become this brand, you've become this information source that they can't get anywhere else. Like I said, most data from real estate is a 90-day lag. So, you know, as much information is on our computers, you're the guy that's in the trenches. You're the guy that's today, present day knowledge. There's nobody more fluid than you. You're the expert. And so just encourage you to keep it up. And you know, just like Scott said, artfully craft those conversations so that you excite people to engage with you.
Hey, John, another thing I've been doing that's been really kind of beneficial for me, and also because of the climate we're in with the low inventory, I've been going to preview a lot of property, and it's been amazing to see like the engagement, especially like on social media. Like people are just really interested in properties, and they comment, they ask you questions, and I've had people reach out to me. So that's something I mean, I've been kind of doing it since the pandemic, more so is when I started actually doing it, because before, I would say my first 4 years in the business, I didn't preview properties, but that definitely brings a lot of value to kind of know, you know, what's on the market and different neighborhoods and different price points and stuff.
That's awesome, bud. I'm proud of you. And congratulations on that deal you closed a couple of days ago. We're proud of you.
No, thank you.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Anybody else today? Well, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Scott, thank you for supporting this and sharing your enthusiasm and expertise. I love you all, and I can't wait to watch your business grow. The first class that went through this had something like a 700% increase in their business. So I'm expecting even more of you, each and every one of you, as you use this workbook and book and build out your network this year and make some lofty goals. And we'll celebrate towards the end of the year as we watch you bring that fruit home. So everyone have a great rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you again in a month, if not sooner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Bye-bye.